guys. Hi, welcome to POZ Impact. We are Houston's first radio show dedicated to people with HIV, their friends and family on Real Talk 100 Radio. We are super excited to have our show tonight, which is going to be with Michael Conteh. He is a board certified behavior analyst. And we've had, if you guys are not familiar with him, then you guys are missing out because we've had him on our show several times. And he is just amazing. And so, with all this coronavirus stuff that's happening at the moment, we wanted to make sure we give, I guess, a clear understanding of what to be afraid of and what kind of behaviors to expect, especially from, just we've talked before about like honesty. We talked about how to love one another, and we talked about integrity, but. So now we want to talk about a little bit more about how to deal with this being secluded with what quarantine. Michael, go ahead and please jump in anytime this is your show as well too. So if you guys don't know Michael, introduce yourself please to everybody.
Sure, I will
and
be happy
our listeners.
to. I need to go turn on my little camera over here real quick.
Oh yes.
So while you do that, you could talk about the awesomeness of POZ.
Yes, and so I just want to also make sure that we give a quick shout out to Thomas Street, and we just want to make sure people. Oh, I need to go live as well too. Oh, perfect. All right, so I'm going live on Facebook.
Okay.
I always want to rotate my phone. Just go live. But we want to make sure we have. So with Thomas Street, most of our donations, as people are aware of, come from individuals as well as for Bunnies on the Bayou. Bunnies on the Bayou, unfortunately, with all this Corona stuff, they have canceled, and so what that means is that we are left with a gap of around $8,000, and $8,000 is a little bit of a large sum amount of money that we need to come up with. And so we are going to be doing, for people who are not aware, I'm on the board of Thomas Street. And so being on the board of Thomas Street makes us, it's just, we want to make sure we have a good quality care for our patients who are going there currently. And so, we provide meals for patients every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Friday. So 4 times a day, 4 times a week, we provide meals for people, and that's at stake at the moment because we won't be able to, with that donation that we won't be able to getting from Bunnies on the Bayou now. That basically was our huge. They were a huge contributor to, or we were a huge beneficiary of them for in order for us to continue to that. So please, you guys, we're going to be doing a huge campaign about raising funds for Thomas Street. So if I'm calling you, I'm going to be asking you for some money. I know these are some hard times that we're all going through, but Thomas Street serves the underpopulation of people who are with HIV. Yeah. Sometimes these are they only get that one meal a day, and it's not even a meal; it's a sandwich with a fruit. And that's only about the good thing that they'll have that entire day. So that's what they look for. And we have been very blessed to be a beneficiary of Thomas Street. Of Bunnies on the Bayou, and so we just want to make sure that people are aware that since it's being canceled and all, people can help us out. But now that we are with Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience and to our listeners, people who are just tuning in. Mm-hmm. Lady Hill, she is. Oh no, she is staying home. She's got some chills and fever. No, Lady Hill, we're gonna wish you all the best.
A social distance.
But we are glad that you are home.
Best.
Yes, we are super glad that you're home and resting because yes, we do not need that here. But we are glad that you're tuning in, for sure. So hi, Lady Hill, and oh, there you go. Yes, so we'll make sure we're still live. And Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself to our new listeners. I know
Sure.
that it's been about, like it's been, well, it's last month since
We
you've been on
saw,
that
yeah,
show,
we did
but
January.
it's been a little bit, yes.
And so my name is Michael Conteh. I am a board certified behavior analyst. I'm soon to be certified also as a coach, whether it's through executive coaching or life coaching. So I'm happy to be on today. We're in some interesting times that are ahead of us, and so we're going to talk about some interesting topics. But the four topics we're going to talk about: a little bit about fear, talk a little bit about anxiety and stress. We're going to talk a little bit about guarding your negative self-talk, because in this time of isolation, it's kind of hard to drown out that voice. And then we're going to talk a little bit about loneliness. So we're going to talk about a couple of these things. And then we're just going to talk about just setting a good, I'm calling it the COVID-19 game plan.
Okay.
But really setting just some simple goals to kind of keep you building positive momentum. I think as we start, for this talk, the simple thing I want to say is we are going to be okay.
Okay.
And it's hard. Not saying that this is not going to be difficult. I'm not saying that this won't be a challenge for many, many, many people, no matter how this shakes out. But humans are resilient creatures.
Yes.
We've been through plagues before. The Spanish flu, kind of the closest resemblance to what we're going through now, happened about 100 years ago, 1918, 1919. We've been through the Black Death and the plague and the rats.
Yeah.
We've been through some of these things, and we will get through this. We have technology. We have data. We have all these things at our disposal. And I think that is the lighthouse way out for us to remember when we don't know what's going to happen. There's so much uncertainty. Even from when we spoke in January. I was here in January for Martin Luther King.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So think how fast things have changed.
So suddenly, and and we weren't even talking about coronavirus back then.
No.
But people knew about it, but that wasn't our concern. And now we can't seem to not talk about coronavirus. Any way you go, coronavirus is the subject to talk about. With fear. Fear comes loneliness. Loneliness comes, like all these thoughts that you have in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You are actually. That's when you have to love yourself, kind of.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit before, but this is the time of period when we are the most vulnerable, kind of, to ourselves, because you don't have work, you don't have these colleagues to kind of like, oh, I'm busy with work, or like whatever excuse that you come up with. Now there's kind of no those excuses because we're all at home. So this is when you're like the most vulnerable, I feel like, and this is when I think people are truly afraid, if not scared, of something that is unknown, as an unknown thing to everybody at the moment.
Yeah.
This virus.
It's huge. Before we go fully into the aspects, this is what it feels like. I love using analogies just to try to build a little picture. But it almost feels like nature itself is putting humanity on a big timeout. Right? No matter how, I don't know how long we're going to, stay inside. But nature's like, okay, humans, you come sit here in the timeout area, and time to think, time to reflect, time to really start to think about what are the next logical steps for us individually, for the people in our circles, for our community, for our countries, and our species. So we start to talk about fear. And I think the simplest thing is to realize that it is perfectly okay to be afraid right now. The word pandemic is a word not to be taken lightly. it felt like, we talked about in January. In January, people were talking about coronavirus, but it's like a small little
Yeah.
dot in the corner,
Yeah.
and then as we got into February, it turned into a little monster that started to grow, and in the past 2 weeks, it's become Godzilla, and Godzilla's
Yes.
still growing.
Yes.
And that, I think that's the thing that's really freaking us out. We don't know how big this monster's really gonna get. It's okay to be afraid. We should be afraid because of the uncertainty. We have to be very mindful of our own thoughts and feelings. So if you feel afraid, that's okay. I think the second part of it is, after you feel afraid, what do you do, or what does your team do, or what plan do you make? That's going to be the test. So going back to that nature example, is we're going to be challenged physically. We won't be able to go to all the things that we like. It's going to be hard when we hit Friday and we can't go to the bar.
Yeah.
And we can't go sit at the restaurant. No, we can still do takeout, so eat some of the food. But it's not this, that same, that
No.
close. Mentally, it's going to be a challenge. And then thank goodness we have the internet. Thank goodness we have Facebook Lives. And I like these whole virtual meals people are having with each other.
Yes.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
You're eating food, they're eating food, you're sharing.
I feel like this is the news side of the internet that we haven't explored.
Yeah.
This of community, it's been out there. We have been able to kind of do this, but we haven't done it because we've just been always, we'll just hang out sometime. When really we could just catch up with a friend, like, hey, you live in this country, I live in this country. Or you live in this state, I live in this state. Let's just do brunch together at this one time and catch up, And this is what it's allowing us to do at the moment. We had no idea that we needed. Kind of,
Well, that's what happens when you get forced, when things get denied. What's one of the old sayings? When a door is closed, a window opens. Well, in this case, the door has slammed
shut.
It is slamming on our hands and our face. But it's going to give us opportunities to find other windows and really make sure the people important to us, we really show them how much we care. It's really as our communities. You're going to know a lot about your community, moving forward. And so the opposite, I'm always a realist. That's always the best way to be honest and be real about the uncertainty of the future. But the optimism is, it gives us a chance to grow. And I think that's the one. This is going to be some tough lemonade. This lemonade is going to be
This ain't no Beyonce lemonade.
very sour lemonade that we're about to drink. But it's still
It's
lemonade.
like Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. But it does give people so this is what's gonna happen to a lot of people. At least my theory hypothesis is there's gonna be a lot of people that go on the COVID-19 diet, meaning they're gonna sit at home and all they bought were Oreos and ice cream, and they're gonna gain 25 to 50 pounds, throughout this damn point because your brain is just so hyperactive. And then there's gonna be some people that are, you say, you know what, I can control my food, I can do yoga every day, I can work out, and I'm gonna go get my COVID-19 body. And they're gonna lose 25, 10, 25, 50 pounds.
I'm hoping for that one. I still haven't reached that confinement yet because I'm still working somewhat, so it hasn't really affected me tremendously. Other than I have lost like 90% of my customers, but I'm still kind of busy.
Yeah.
And it can, like in that midday where like you kind of want to do something. That's when you're like, I can go out and go for a run. That's when I'm normally working. So when I get home, I'm tired. I just want to take a nap. And by the time I take a nap, it's already late.
Yeah, it's going to change everyone's schedules, and we know humans don't like change. So I think going back to that mental game that we're going to have to play.
Yeah.
It's a fact that you won't be able to do the things that you want to do. And that's where that self-discipline to be, hey, I need to stay home because I need to be mindful that I can get infected, I can infect others. There's a lot of moving parts with this thing, and still so many unknowns. So it's gonna be hard on people. You know, they're not gonna have their same access to the same drugs. They're not gonna have access to the same people.
Yeah.
And so mentally, that's a challenge, and then spiritually, you know, just keeping faith. You know,
Having realistic goals.
definitely. No.
Like what is a realistic goal? Because like I tell myself, so this is something that we all, I'm guilty of this, and I'm gonna confess. Like, oh, I really want to go to the gym, but then come 5 o'clock, I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen. But the night before, I'm like committed. I have my clothes set out. I have everything planned out. That I just have to like get out of my bed and do all this. So what are and that's not a realistic goal for me. So I need some encouragement there.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some realistic goals that we can put together and say maybe start small? So maybe not start because my whole goal is like I'm gonna be there for 2 hours, and I don't have 2 hours.
Oh, well.
But maybe I could have 30 minutes.
Well, we'll go back to that whole 2 hour thing. So what Josh is talking about essentially is everyone needs to have some sort of COVID-19 plan. It's time to really think now that the world literally has come to a grinding halt, or will soon, or at least slow down immensely. To reassess your goals. So about setting realistic goals. I think you're on track of you want something that I think is for your body.
Yes.
You want something that's for your brain.
Yes.
And then you do want something that's for your spirit. Because I think that's the simplest way to keep yourself motivated towards those three and keeping them as aligned as possible. Because once you start to unravel and you start eating unhealthier, that's going to affect your brain, which is going to add to more, negative self-talk and these other things. So I think having these goals kind of keeps pushing this positive momentum. So let's go back to, so now, a lot of us are going to be working from home.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a lot of mental effort. So let's take a realistic goal of saying you now pretty much do not have an excuse not to work out on a regular schedule. You now, think of the commute. The commute times alone is plenty of time for most of us to. So instead of just reverting back and going straight to a sit on couch all day schedule, let's keep a little bit of a schedule. Not rigid. We don't need, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. We don't need that. But commit when you wake up. I'm gonna do an hour to 2 hours of gym work. The same time I would have taken to get ready for work, now it's for gym.
Okay.
So I think that's one simple way to set a realistic goal.
And since you normally would wake up at no matter what, like at 6 or at 7 o'clock, and you would have those 2 hours to get ready. So instead of still waking up at the same time, but setting up those, instead of getting ready, go for a workout or hit the gym or do your meditation. Or kind of do like whatever your self-improvement.
Yeah, your body's already hardwired, right? It's already waking up at these times. So yeah, go get up at the same time. Go ahead, get and a lot of us still have to get some work done. We have to make sure that we're doing the work that we need to while we're sitting in the home setting. But I especially think there's lots of time to get some yoga, do some prayers, do some meditation, get a quick lift. I know you can't go to the gym, but YouTube's got a lot of things you can do with just your body.
Yeah, toilet paper.
You can do toilet paper crunches or curls. So yeah, you can do your toilet paper curls. So set realistic goals. So that's one for your body. Set a good body goal. Doing some sort of practice for an hour every day. Make sure you get some sort of steps. If you have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, that you get enough steps in a day. Another one could be in terms of that type of meditation, that type of stretching. I think are very helpful. For your brain, it goes back to for your body, nutrition. you're gonna have to eat good, healthy proteins. You know, don't eat sugar all day. You know, those type of things I think will harm you. So for your brain, it's keeping your mental challenged. So I think for many for many people, for many of us, look at your LinkedIn. If you're a business professional, maybe it's time to look at setting up your professional business page. You know, I think it's free. It's a great way to go up and, you know, brush up on some old connections, seeing what they're up to. I think right now is a good time to have connections in this very uncertain world. So I encourage you guys, you know, go on LinkedIn. You know, look at your Facebook, not just from hey, I'm going on because I'm bored, but really look at what message am I portraying right now. What everybody is a brand. Everybody is, you know, so what you put out, you know, online now lives forever. It's good to say, okay, what message do I want to put out to the world? Am I putting out a message of justice? Am I putting out a message of hope? Am I putting out a message at all?
Yeah.
Am I really connecting with friends, or am I just posting food I ate? You know, I think really finding purpose in what you're doing will be very important, because we might be in a situation where we're kind of at home a lot moving forward.
So, you know, when you talk about being afraid of the coronavirus, but also working out and also having that, you know, this kind of plan. So how do you balance the of like you're still afraid or you're still worried, but you still want to be able to do this workout, and you still want to be able to kind of live some kind of like of a normal life, combined in between them. But how do you manage them two together? You know, when you're like, the world's coming to an end. Why should I work out? You know, why should why not even work out, but why should I have like mental stability? Why should I, you know, why should I still continue to have a routine? You know, like, you know what I'm saying?
It is, and it's really hard, because if people want to give up, people now have an excuse on some small level to want to take steps back. Give up's probably too strong, to take steps back, right? Who cares if I'm fat right now? Who cares if I'm mentally stable right now? I'm just gonna drink.
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to, you know, stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, watching this stuff 24/7. It's to have that. It's a great traction to keep the fight going, and it's hard. It's hard when things are hard. It's always easy to say, oh, you just got to get there, and you'll have the energy and you'll just pull through it. But we know it's not always works that way. It's hard to have energy to pull through. It's hard to have energy to fight. But that's why we're here. You know,
That's where you're living.
We're here to fight.
You're currently living. You currently have a body. You currently have a will.
Yes.
Know, you're a human. You know, like, but you know, like, I don't have this type of depression, but I do see that a lot of my friends are having this type of depression where they're like, I just don't give a F anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like, the world's going to hell. You know, like, we have this horrible president. You know, now we have this pandemic. You know, what is there to live for? And this uncertainty of people who, you know, who live, who die. You know, you have the extremists, and then you have the nonchalants.
And they're both equally as dangerous right now.
Exactly. You know, they're like, oh, everything's gonna be like, there's no problem. You can socialize. I'm not gonna get it. I'm immune. And then you have people who are like, oh, it's complete lockdown. We're gonna go into martial law.
Martial law
and
tomorrow.
Everything's gonna like close down, and you know, it's fend for yourself. Survival of the fittest at its finest. You know, so how do you balance the two together? And somebody who's already having this mental issue, who's already has this problem, you know, them not freaking out even more further. I mean, I suggest talk to your therapist even more if you can. Do tell a community, talk to your friends, but sometimes it's just not enough.
No.
You know, sometimes it's just that is like what they're just gonna tell me the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
how do we put it in a different perspective that yes, you are still worth it. You still have this life to live. You are still, you know, you still contribute, you know, to this little,
Yeah.
puzzle of this world that we have to.
Yeah. Everyone. So my philosophy is simple. If you've made it this far, you have a role to play. You have to fulfill that role. Now, I don't know what that role is. Sometimes you don't find your role out right away.
Yeah.
Your role changes as time goes on.
Yeah.
But I feel that once you're human, you've clocked into humanity. And, you keep playing until the game gets taken from you. So I look at it that way. And it really helps, too, because it helps me to not try to categorize people, not to, diminish people. Everyone has their role to play. But I want them to be the best and the most positive of that role. Because some people can play roles, but their roles are...
Yeah, negative.
Yeah. And there's always there's positive roles for people. For every person has positive and negative roles that they can play, and you really think you play them all throughout the day. So I think that's the first thing that humans, and I think it's really talking about anxiety and stress. So I'm gonna start with an analogy, and then we'll start talking about just anxiety, because that's that feeling of why should I keep going? I look at anxiety like, if you can visualize that your brain is this dog, right? And your dog has all the anxiousness, all the stress, all those negative self-talk, and it's always around you, right? Your dog's always around. What happens if you don't train that dog well? Well, it's biting people, right?
Yeah.
It's digging holes. It's pooping on the floor. It's kind of all over the place because it reacts every time it barks, every time something goes by. That's someone's anxiety, right? That's a dog who just every time something happens, it freaks out, easily excitable. I think a lot of people, they need to train their dog, meaning they're gonna have to find ways to try to practice staying calm, trying breathing techniques, and really try to fight the part of you that says, I want to quit so bad. Because I think every one of us, or most of us, are having that feeling of, oh my goodness, this is serious. Pandemics are real. And by the way, that word existed before. We've like I said, we've been through these before. I think that's why we have to keep fighting. It's saying, okay, we've been through hard things.
Yeah.
Is this going to be hard? Oh yeah.
Well, it's like the first kind of hard thing that we've been through as, older people, but it's been over 100 years of people. So
Yeah.
like this new generation really hasn't had this kind of test put into them. I didn't grow up in this coronavirus world where
No.
like social distancing. So these kids who are growing up now, we also have to worry about their mental stability and making sure that they're okay as well too. So
Mhm.
as parents and adults, we're trying to figure out our shit out.
Yeah, we're trying to swim,
Yes.
but there's these eyes looking at us,
As well too.
watching us how we're swimming.
So how do you make sure that you're controlled as well too, and making sure that you're putting on a good front. I just hung out with my cousin's kids, and they could care less about the coronavirus at the moment.
Yeah.
They're just, it's vacation to them. It's they have no idea what's happening in the world.
Yeah. And actually, that's probably good for them on some level. It gives them some sense of normalcy. Because, like I say, kids don't give two whats about. Like, it's playtime.
Yes, I mean it's all about like playing with the current things and all these toys that they get, and like, I got this and I'm gonna play outside and I find this, I'm gonna go look for snails and
Snails.
whatever the case is, he's gonna look for, and I'm thinking, wow, he's not even aware of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
and how it's going to influence them. Because okay, yeah, maybe a week, but 2 weeks, 3 weeks that they're not going to school, they're smart.
Yeah.
Kids are going to ask, why am I not going to school? Why can't I see my friend Jimmy from from my from class, or why can't I see my girlfriend? I just had somebody this like, oh, we've been dating for 3 months and I haven't seen her in a week and I miss her so much.
Man.
And they're in kindergarten together. I'm all like, okay, but it's all this influence. It's this humanity that you have with social contact that you're not gonna have. And I wonder if this is gonna have an impact in our lives where we're gonna be less not less close, touchable. We're gonna be afraid to touch people in the future, and we're gonna be like more like, oh, hey, okay, yeah, even though this all may have passed, a year from now, is our culture gonna stay the same? Can our culture survive of this touchy feely and hugging and I give you a hug, we had five, every single time we see each other, it's not often, but now it's not even that.
It's an elbow.
It's an elbow.
Give me some elbow.
Or is that gonna be our reality from now on?
I think so. I think we actually have good data that says that we will eventually get back to normal because we are pack creatures. We talked on the show before about oxytocin and how that's a chemical you get from socializing with other human beings. So you can just imagine the importance of what that is for us. So, I think overall we'll now, will we start touching each other right away? Absolutely not. I think there'll be a lag period where we're not engaging. But we had bubonic plague before. We had the measles. The measles is one of the highest, most contagious diseases that we've ever had, and we still bounce back from that. We've had, the different Spanish flus. So, no, I feel good that we will have something available of getting back to that normalcy. Now, I don't know about all the kissing and all of that, but we have...
Well, I mean, you can't get me away from, see my babies, I'm all like, I'm supposed to be practicing self-quarantine, but when it comes down to these children... I just want to love on them and give them kisses.
But I guess we really have to see, and unfortunately, with the internet, we can see what other countries are going through right now, and so I always go have self-discipline to be a little cautious for the next week or two, right? Let's not plan the next 6 months down the road. None of us know, and whoever says they know it all, they don't. Let's get to the next 2 weeks. Let's set a good plan for the next 2 weeks, and really social distancing in positive ways, and find other ways to go out and do the video, playing word with friends with people. You can you can do charades. You can still do charades from a distance, on video distance.
It's nowhere near as fun.
But I do feel comfortable as humans. We love to socialize. One of the few side effects, talk about making lemonade, is we are really gonna miss each other. We're really gonna miss just the simplicity of conversation, of that face to face. But talking about stress, so when I think of stress, I think of anxiety. It is that primitive brain of ours protecting itself. That's why, I don't know about you, but when I start to eat, I feel like I want to eat 1,000 things because my brain is telling me, hey, I'm anxious. Let me protect myself and get some food inside of me. So you're going to have some anxiousness moments. It is that primitive brain. We talked before about the two parts of your brain. And I'm being a little simplified, but essentially there's the initial reactionary part of your brain. That's that part that reacts to stress, your fight or flight, your anger. Those things kind of emanate those instant feelings. And then there's a more evolved part of your brain, the empathy, the sympathy, the compassion. And that takes a little bit. It takes that little half second or so to kind of continue. And so, when it comes to anxiety, there's many roads that we're gonna need to do to try to reduce our anxiety because we all have it. Like we are all kind of just hung to these TVs and hung to the words of folks. Our goodbyes are really real. And they'll continue to be so for a long time coming. But one of the first steps to reduce anxiety inside of you is just to realize that you have it. Just to acknowledge the anxiousness that you feel. That it's a little hard to sleep. I always think I'm a big fan of visualization, and you can't defeat anything you can't see. And so the thought of that, the visualize that anxiety is real, I think is always the first step. Okay, I feel anxious right now. All right. Now you can go about saying, okay, well now what can I do about it? How I go about making it better. I think this is the best time where the workout comes in handy of saying, what can I do to center my focus? So, okay, I'm anxious. I'm getting anxious right now. Okay, well, let me think about, let me go play with my kids. Or, hey, you know what? Let me go write in my journal. Or I'm going to go and just do some yoga or I'm going to do some jumping jacks until I'm tired. I'm going to do as many push-ups as possible. I think it's kind of having this override in your brain of saying, I understand I'm anxious, but let me go do something that helps me to decompress. Let me go call a friend. I think this is a very important time to not be proud to say I need help. I think this is one of the biggest times in human history.
Okay.
Because we're all going to need help in this. We're all going to have days when we wake up and attraction. And so I'm happy that I've had struggles. I've had, which like most people, I've had ups, I've had downs. I've broken apart like Humpty Dumpty.
Hold on, I just want before we go any further, I just want to have you repeat. It's okay to ask for help. It's definitely okay, especially and today you may feel okay, but tomorrow you may wake up and you may not feel okay, and it's definitely okay to ask, to call your buddy, call me, call somebody. Call your best friend. If you don't have a best friend, reach out to a support group. But definitely contact somebody if you're not feeling like you're 100% you. And maybe just that contact, whether it's via phone or whether it's via a video conference call, FaceTime, or whatever. And then now there's Zoom and all this other stuff. But just to be able to have that connection, and it's okay to have that. It's okay to need that connection, and we all do. After a week or two of not seeing my friends, I'm like, hey, we need to get together immediately. And now it's hard. Now I'm how are we gonna get together? We haven't really seen each other. We all missed this we missed this this timeline of when it's okay to gather up in groups, and so now we're gonna have to find some kind of FaceTime or the Zoom where we can all kind of meet together. But I just want to make sure we go back to this saying that it's okay to ask for help, and don't be ashamed of it. Don't think that you're like, oh, I can't believe I've never had to do this before. It's totally okay. These are uncertain times. It's okay to have this anxiety and stress behind this, but also know that there's other people that can help you as well too. Find a support group out there. Find friends. Find help. I'm not Michael. I'm sure you can talk about this more than I could, or how to find somebody that's appropriate to talk about what you're going through.
Yeah.
And it may not be a friend because you may not want to disclose certain personal information, but I'm sure there's a third party, whether it's a psychologist or a therapist or behavior analyst like yourself, that kind of like a group,
There's been more. So a lot of the psychologists are starting to go online. So I do think now is actually a good time to go ahead and go ahead and see what's out there for you from a psychology standpoint. Um, if you're feeling that your spirit seems intact, but more mentally you're having struggling like routines and setting a game plan, I think a coach will work. There's many coaches in the city that do it. I practice, I do coaching, so I help them set up goals. So if you're having severe, you know, mental side, definitely look at psychologists. And so this goes back to that kind of plan.
But also like coaches like yourself.
Yes.
Like you. Sometimes I don't really need to see a psychologist. I
Yes.
just need a coach to kind of help me through that little bump in the road, right?
Essentially, the coach becomes
Yeah.
an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Right? And so you have your friends for a lot of things, but you might have someone say, my friends don't push me as hard, or maybe these are things that are just my goals. And so with a coach, you can sign up. There's lots of coaches, myself included, but you pretty much say, here's my 2 body goals, here's my 2 brain goals, here's my 2 spirit goals. We'll talk every 2 weeks, and we'll go over those goals, see how I'm doing with them, troubleshoot how to improve them. And that keeps that accountability of knowing, I know that, I have to call this guy in 3 days. Where am I
Yeah.
at my goals?
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, having that would be very helpful. So definitely there's lots of coaches that can provide that type of service. A lot of webinars. One of the things that actually I will be doing is a webinar. I haven't picked a date
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
I'm going to do some for autism, so I'm going to try to do that one
Yeah.
on April 2nd. A free webinar just to help parents with their kids, special needs kids at home. But I really want to do one just for general people in terms of staying balanced. And so I haven't picked a date yet. If you check with my Facebook or LinkedIn page,
Which is?
I will. It's pretty much my first and last name.
Which is?
Michael dot Conteh, CON, T as in Tom, E, H as in Harry. My LinkedIn picture, I think I'm in a like a tropical, a nice hat. But definitely, I'll probably try to do something in early to mid-April. I know the topic I want to do is about loving yourself. I think, and depending on the traction I get, if people are interested, I'll have a paid version for like direct care and for direct coaching. But I want to do something, whether it's every month or every 2 weeks, on these topics. So a lot of topics that me and you have talked about, it'd be good to have a nice, fresh webinar, do some Q&A,
for sure.
and kind of give that back and forth going.
When the topics that we talk about, honesty, loving yourself, integrity, and the topics that we covered, it kind of all directly comes forward to this topic as well too. The stress, this fear, is, if your integrity was intact beforehand, you're gonna know when something's wrong with yourself, and so you're gonna be like, hey, go ahead and do whatever you need to do to feel better. But if we're talking about the different types of socialism and anti-socialism that we're doing at the moment, we're all trying to stay together, or we're all separated from each other. Sometimes we're not thinking about how this really is going to affect my mental state, and how do I overcome this as well too. So it's really important. And Michael just stepped out for just a quick second, so if you guys are looking at him, you guys can. I'm right here. We're if you haven't checked ours out, go to POZ Impact at POZ IMPACT. We're on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, and you can see our different medias out there that we've done coverage over these subjects. And I think it's really going to be important to be able to talk about not only the anxiety and the stress that we're dealing with at the moment, but also how to say that, yes, I am afraid of admitting to yourself that you are afraid of what's happening in this virus. I don't think that's a shame. I don't think that anybody needs to be ashamed of being afraid, because these are moment, so but how do you deal with that fearness and not overreacting and not underreacting. So acknowledging that there is this kind of fear, acknowledging that there is um, this virus out there, but at the same time being prepared for it, being strategic about what you're actually doing about this virus, and making sure that you're continuing with your safe practices, social distancing, making sure that you're following whatever it is, using the different types of communication that's available. Reach out to friends, reach out to family, reach out to coaches. If you need therapy, reach out to therapy. But Michael, he is a coach, and so that's where it's really nice to be able to talk with somebody who's back. Everybody.
I know.
It's really nice to be able to talk with somebody who kind of will get us through this next phase that we're in. Because when we talk about loneliness and we talk about being afraid, those are a lot of fears of people that people have. People stay in relationships just so that they don't have to be, afraid of loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about that a little bit later in our show. But go ahead, with our
Sure.
stress and anxiety.
We talked about stress and anxiety a little bit. I want to start transitioning a little bit to that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
That little voice inside of your head right now, that is screaming. And it's screaming lots of crazy things. You guys know me now long enough. I'm not a big conspiracy guy. Do they happen? Yes, they can happen. But that little voice in your head, or sometimes the voice is big, has all these thoughts running through it. Right? Is this a conspiracy?
Yeah.
Is this the end of the world? When am I gonna see my friends? Man, I am stuck with someone I don't like. Or man, I really should have been dating more. There's so many things going on. And the truth is that voice has always been there. But now when you have isolation, now when you have all this anxiety, that voice starts to get, a little loud. And so I really think you have to be very mindful and guard against that voice taking over. Because you can let that voice take over. Because going back to you talked about...
Very quickly.
Yes. Yes. It's that voice that says, why work out? The world's ending anyway.
Yeah.
Eat the Oreos.
Yeah.
And so I think, for me, I kind of try to run... This is how I do it. Everyone do it how you do it. But I always try to run all my thoughts through its own objective filter on top of it. Because it is really hard just to... And when you're anxious, you don't want to be objective. You want to feel. You want to feel scared. You want to feel upset. You want to feel sad. And like we said earlier, you have a right to feel all those things. But you let that voice just keep beating you down day after day, then that's when it's hard to get up in the morning. That's when it is difficult. So guard that voice in your head. Catch yourself if 10 of the thoughts that come out of your head, the last 10 thoughts, if 8 of them are negative, then you need to kind of guard against that. You need to say, hey, I'm trying to go down the rabbit hole.
What does that look like, though? So, like, if 8 out of 10 thoughts are negative, how do I close those windows?
You know what? That's a great analogy. I like that.
How do we
from a guy who likes analogies.
How do we close those windows and open up positive windows? So if we only have 2 and we're continuing thinking, this is okay, what's next? Oh, what's next? Oh, what's next? Now, this is gonna be, New York City is quarantine. Oh, California is quarantine. Oh, Illinois is under quarantine. Is Texas next? Am I gonna die? Am I gonna be? All these fears take over your head, and you're just thinking about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are thinking about, if you have these fears, how do you suppress it, or how do you start acknowledging, hey, okay, so what do I do to have more positive thoughts than negative?
I think that filter helps. So all of a sudden the thought comes out and I go, man, that thought was dark. Like, oh man, that was mean. I was mean to myself with that thought. I really tried to really evaluate, am I just showing emotion or am I being, because that voice in your head also helps you to improve. I think the voice has its qualities, but right now, especially in this anxious time, it's probably not the best time to let that bad boy run wild. So I think it goes with having good anchor thoughts. I always want to say, okay, well, I need to make sure I have some positive thoughts or things I'm looking forward to. So I'm not always ruminating, which is a big word of saying I'm not always thinking about the things that have happened in the past or worried about things I can't control. Um, I'm I, a while back ago, and this is not perfect, but a while back ago, I kind of made a promise to myself that as much as I am able to, I will not try to stress out over things I can't control. We can't control this pandemic in terms of this pandemic is here. It's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, no.
But I can control my social distancing. I can control if I get up and make breakfast in the morning. I can control if I work out or not. So I think once I stop to not focus on the things I can't control, my brain doesn't worry about them as much. Does it still worry about them? Absolutely, it worries about them. But I can't control it anyway. So then it narrows my focus down. So now I can focus on making sure I go to sleep. Now I'm staying up later. I don't have to wake up I don't have to go to sleep. But I'm not going to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning just watching infomercials. Still,
Yeah.
because I want to still have purpose, and I still want to, and everyone's purpose is different. But I still want to go help people, or I still want to, prove to myself that I can, survive a tough challenge. Or there's 1,000 reasons why. I just go pick one. Pick a strong reason and kind of go for it. But yeah, I think really trying to lower the negative self-talk in your head, really guarding, and so you want to look forward to things. So I think having something, you should have something in the morning that you're looking forward to, and then have something in the evening. So 6 o'clock. So I do advocate whether it's a coach, a psychologist, but you can have a friend have a phone plan. 5 days a week out of the 7, but out of your Monday through Friday, 4 of those days at 6 o'clock, you're going to talk to somebody. And you and that person, it's set up, it's on Zoom, and I actually prefer it face-to-face, not face-to-face, video face-to-face.
Yes.
I think those are ways to, you go, okay, I know I'm having a bad day, and I think it's having that conversation in that phone plan. The first 2 sentences coming in your mouth are, hey, I'm having a tough day today, I'm having a good day today, or I'm having a great day. So then that shapes the whole conversation. And I think if you could be open and honest with that person in those first 2 sentences that come out, and they do the same, that helps. There's gonna be days we're just gonna cry. Today is cry day, and it might be cry hour, right? It might not be the whole day. Okay, now I'm gonna go watch Family Guy for an hour, and then I'm gonna go read a book, and I'm gonna go learn a language, and I'm gonna be flexible.
I'm gonna plug in my friend's book real quick. The Richest Man and the Trash Can. If you have not gotten that book yet,
Ooh,
make
nice.
sure you get it. He is my friend Antonio. He is my business coach. And so whenever I have business questions, that's who I reach out to. But he just released he's a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, and his
awesome.
new book is The Richest Man in the Trash Can. It's a great book, and he actually tells it like it is in that book. He just lays it down, and you just have to absorb it, basically. Like he gives you no other option but to absorb it. But also, Michael, you're coming out with a new book as well too, and so that's amazing. And when we're talking about like all this stuff, is like we want to make sure we have some kind of knowledge to acceptance of stuff. Some kind of hardcover, and to read it. So when you're reading a book, make sure it's something that is will feed your soul a little bit as well too. I'm gonna say that.
You need some chicken
know,
soup.
yes.
You need some steak. You need some curry. You need some sushi for the
make
soul.
Make sure your book includes all those as well too.
Sushi for the soul. Maybe
Yes.
maybe there's a book in there somewhere. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to have a book out in this day and age.
Yeah.
I did talk to our publisher. We are still going to move forward.
Yes.
They're great folks. Indie Books International. I'm going to name drop them real quick.
Yes, sure.
But we're going to move forward with it, and especially because my book's about balance. A lot of this can definitely be applied to this whole situation. So we'll see. It's still safe to be out 2020. We'll evaluate. I do know I'll be doing some of the webinars. So I think I may take small components of the book and turn into something of an actual how-to.
Well, I cannot wait till you actually have the book so we can talk about it officially and have it here and make sure you have your little book tour. You stop here as well too.
Yeah.
And give it all of our listeners.
They're gonna be all virtual book tours.
Yes.
I'm gonna be virtual signing. You know, that would be cool if you can on Facebook you can virtually sign someone's Facebook page.
Yeah. Actually, that'd be pretty cool if you could actually,
You can verify that person was from.
Yeah.
Like, Will Ferrell signed my Facebook page. And he has to, not physically do it, but he has to authenticate that he signed it.
Or have his little handwriting, or, they have the little pads or something. They can digitally.
Or your own personal meme. He gave you your own meme. Yeah.
But when we're talking about, the books and making sure you're reading something, it's also important to you're staying positive. So you're feeding your soul. So when we're talking about feeding your soul, it's also talking about what this conversation brought was when you're having 8 out of 10 negative comments, you want to make sure you read something positive. So something's gonna better you for you. So that's why I was just referencing your book and Antonia's book, making sure that you read something that's gonna give you guidance as well too, and not kind of if you read Quarantine or if you read a paranoia book, you're gonna be more paranoid.
Conspiracy theories of the 20th century.
Yeah.
No, I think, and this is where I always try to be mindful that people decompress different than me, but I think in general you should watch more documentaries or things that make you grow versus Teen Mom 12 or whichever Teen Mom she's at right now. I don't know if it's the same mom
I have no idea.
Or the 12 moms. Have your trash TV, but I think you should have a limit on it. One of the big things I also do advocate right now is have a limit on your pandemic consumption. Literally, once it hits 7 o'clock, no more pandemic talk, no more pandemic watching, because you're gonna have a hard time sleeping anyway.
Yeah. I
think it's kind of hard to watch something that literally terrifies the poop out of you and say, okay, now it's time for Betty Bye. Our brains don't work that way. So I think the same way I think of food, you're supposed to wait, 3 hours, at least 3 hours after you eat before you go to bed. You should probably wait 3 hours before when you want to sleep around midnight, let's say, you need to, by 9 o'clock, and I would advocate by 7 o'clock in general, so mine is 7, is, okay, no more CNN or whatever thing I'm looking at.
Yeah.
No more Facebook no more where I'll get sucked back into so I can watch a movie, I can watch a documentary, I can turn the TV off, I can read a book. I think that will help your brain to slow down. You can't show your brain drama and stress all day long and be like, okay, go to sleep, brain. Stay quiet now.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a really... And so all I'm advocating for is these simple rules, right? Simple rules of, wake up, try to keep a consistent schedule, waking up, setting up a phone plan, setting up realistic goals. One of the biggest things we have to combat is loneliness. Loneliness is not a disease as a cancer or anything else, but loneliness is one of the most debilitating things to happen to a human being. because it preys on every insecure feeling we've ever had, and it justifies it. Because when you feel lonely, that negative self-talk can say, "See, I told you you were a loser.
Oh wow.
See,
Yeah.
I told you no one likes you. See," and so loneliness is going to be real. Even we know we can't be around each other. That voice is still going to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, these people got a video chat together. You weren't included. See, no one likes you. So it's very dangerous, and I think we talked about in that pattern, right? We talked about fear. First, you're afraid. Fear leads to more anxiety. The more anxiety you have, it leads to more of that negative self-talk. The more negative self-talk you have leads you to push away, self-doubt, especially for lonely. When you're lonely, and I'm skipping ahead, the last thing you'll feel is doubt, loss of hope, and that's the crap. I'm in trouble. You know.
So that's when you really need to seek out for help.
Yeah, and you need to seek out help at anxiety phase. At
Okay.
anxiety, you have to start saying, "Yeah, I need to put a plan in place," because once you get past the anxiety phase, the negative self-talk, that monster. Almost every human on this planet has had the negative self-talk monster eat them up. That probably happens every day to most people. Where you're like, "Dude, be nice to yourself." So I can't imagine with all this stress, moving forward.
And I'm just gonna repeat that real quick. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to yourself. So we're always trying to be nice to other people, but we forget to also be nice to ourselves as well too, which is super important because we want to make sure that we are also surviving. It's okay to check on others. It's okay to be that strong person, but it's also okay to struggle. It's also okay to be that one person that like, okay, I need help now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay for you to ask for help.
Please ask for help. And I think a good way, and for me, I'm a proud person. I used to not ever want to ask for help until I had my first nervous breakdown or 2 or 3. And it was proud.
Why are we so proud of that? Like,
Well,
if we have cancer or if we have other things, like we want kind of the sympathy a little bit, But if we have a mental problem, it's this hush. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want no one to know about this. I don't want no one to know that I have this, going on with my brain. But if you have a broken bone or if you have whatever other diabetes, people will kind of discuss it more than they'll discuss, your mental illness, and it's the same equivalent.
So it goes back to what we talked about earlier, and you brought up a great example. It shows how we're still evolving in our brain, that we still have limits, but all the things you talked about are visible. You could see someone suffering from cancer at some point, or they know the effects of it. Diabetes, you could see it with weight, people who are overweight. And because you can see it, that almost qualifies the reason why they talk about it is because, well, it's true, you can see it anyway. But mental health you can't see. We can't see yet. But some people are walking around in a mental wheelchair. And if we actually could see their brain, we would treat them different. Because mentally, they're hurting. They have 2 broke legs mentally. They have, PTSD is literally the mental, impairment. We just can't see it. And because people can't see it for that person, it's hard for you to just divulge that information. Because you can just hide it, right? It's I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm good, man.
Yeah.
It's that type that goes with it.
I mean, that's the first thing. How are you? I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
And even hard now, it's even hard to say it, so that's not how you do it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why there's a lot of pride for it. But that's where you have to have that accountable friend, or you need the coach or the psychologist. You need that person to say, hey, let's keep each other accountable. So a coach, you say, here are my goals, make sure I do it. The psychologist, tell them, hey, I'm struggling, I'm slipping. I can feel myself slipping. There's an accountable friend, and I say an accountable friend, not the flaky one, but the accountable friend will ask you in earnest, "Are you okay?" And you will be honest in your answer back. So I think that's the friend you want. You don't want the friend that goes, "Oh, you're great. You'll always be fine." I think the extreme, right? The extreme person, the doom and gloom person is bad, but also the person, "Oh, you're great. You know, rub some dirt on it and some Robitussin, and you'll be okay," are equally as dangerous because they're not helping. They're just like, "Oh, I see you're injured. Oh, you'll be okay. Here's some sugar."
Okay.
So yeah, you need to really think, what's my accountable friend? And right now, if you don't have
You
one,
kind of have a game plan a little bit. You're talking about like having some kind of being prepared.
yeah,
Write down a list of who can you account for and who you can't account for, kind of.
yeah,
So that when you're kind of struggling, you're not having to, your brain can't process some things, you know. So like, have this like, oh, that's right, I can call this person. Oh, that's right, I can't call this person. Or you know, this person doesn't usually. When I talk to this person, they always like, oh, you're okay, you're gonna be fine, don't worry about it, you know. So have this kind of like, you know, if I'm thinking about this, you know, have some kind of list that of your friends that you can
Yeah.
kind of communicate with, and say, you know, and these are the people who I know that I can call, that I can talk to, and that will get me through whatever solution. That way, when you're in this kind of mental instability, you're not having to think, um, who can I call? You know, because like you kind of have a brain fart at that moment.
yeah,
But if you have this list, you can just like, oh, let me review I wrote this down. Let me just see who I can call, and you may have 3 or 4 people that you may be able to call on this one list, and someone can help you. But you think that will be like,
I love it. I absolutely love it. Um, when your brain starts to go out of
Yeah.
the anxiety gets too high,
yeah,
you're just gonna need to react and not have to think, who do I need to call?
yeah,
I think it's one of the best ideas. So it's like, I mean,
say it. We're online. We're online radio.
well, I was gonna
You don't have no
say,
children listen to our show.
if it was R&B, if you're listening to Erica Badu, you know, sometimes you might call Tyrone. So if Tyrone's on your list and you're like, I need help, I need to call Tyrone.
Call Tyrone.
But you just have that person like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
slipping right now. Like, oh my goodness, I need help. And then let them know you're the accountability partner. So I think that's a great idea. I think whether we do it now or do it at the end, we should brainstorm ideas. I am more than willing, because I'm going to do the free webinar. I might just, I think we'll just set up a little plan of saying,
Yeah.
have you answered these things for the COVID-19 that they'll get for free? People can set up their own plans.
Yeah.
I think it would be a great idea.
No, I think that's a great idea, because you know when we're in this when you're in this panicky phase, your brain can't associate things. You know, like you're overthinking everything, and you're going through your list and you're like scrolling through numbers of all 500 contacts that you have on your phone, and you're thinking, you know, who the fuck can I call, or whatever this case scenario. But
Yeah.
if you have this kind of like, oh, this person helps, and then also I also like that you said, call them. Hey, bro, like I'm gonna put you down. I'm putting you down as my mental stability check.
Yeah.
So if I call you, and I tell you I need some help, I need you to walk me down the ledge.
Yeah.
Kind of
This is
thing.
not a drill.
Yes.
Come help me out.
And that way they can have some kind of like plan as well too, so you don't catch them off guard as well too. Because if you're calling me like, oh shit, okay, hold on, what are you talking about? Okay, yes, I'm gonna try to help you, but you know, if I know that I'm your person,
Yeah.
then you kind of bounce back from each other. But it's it's kind of nice to be able to have your plan out, write out what your plan is for, at least for COVID-19.
Yeah.
You know, we're this is just the beginning of this thing. You know, we're just really in the middle. Come May, June, July, we're gonna be in a whole different ballgame. And you know, I may need to have come on my show like twice a month to help us all kind of like digest.
Yeah. We might be here in gas
Yes, you never know.
We gotta figure out how to get it done. But no, you're right. So in terms of brainstorming ideas, and definitely on the Facebook page, give us some ideas of some of the things that you would want
Yes.
to have add into that plan. I'm gonna set up a nice simple checklist and say if you
Yeah.
kind of answer most of these things, you'll have a decent plan. And then that'll be just given away for free. I think that'd be a great
I mean,
idea.
because we also perform some kind of mental health problem. We all do. And I just recently asked my doctor to see a therapist, and she's like, "Why?" I was like, "Well, I just kind of want to get a baseline." And she's like, "Okay, you know." She's like, "Are you feeling depressed?" I was like, "No, not really. I just kind of want to make sure that that I'm okay, that I'm not putting myself, that I'm not thinking that I'm being too positive or too negative. You know, like
Yeah.
that I have like some kind of stable, or I'm in the middle. You know." And she's like, "Oh, that's great." You know, she's like, I'll go ahead and refer you." But it kind of caught me off guard when she was like asking me, like, "Why do you want to see like what's wrong with you?" You know. But as soon as I was just like, I just want to be able to have some person that can tell me that you're okay. You know, some individual that says, "Don't worry, don't stress, you're doing okay. Continue going with your plan. You're not having these crazy thoughts." You know, we have a mutual friend in common that he was having, some crazy experiences, and so he was actually really depressed, and I didn't understand that,
Yeah.
and I couldn't understand. I was like, "Why are you depressed? This makes no sense to me." But his feelings are valid. His feelings are real, and we all need to kind of be there with each other to acknowledge that as well too, to making sure that we are aware that um, my feelings are not the same, doesn't equal your feelings. Like we don't all have the same. It's not going to present itself in exactly the same manner, like a suicide or like that depression. You may have some mild form, but we all don't look the same.
Oh no, depression like
And
wines.
depression doesn't all look the same.
No.
So when we're talking about this, we want to make sure, like, whether you're overprotective or underprotective or you're overanalyzing it, there's somebody out there for you that can help you balance yourself,
Yes.
and bring you back into the middle part of it, and making sure that you're okay with everything.
Yeah. It's so I have an analogy here.
Yeah.
About doubt. That's what. Yeah, that's actually trying to remove the doubt. And doubt is like a small backpack, and so you can imagine doubt's always behind you.
Like
right?
a clear backpack.
It could be clear. It could be Pokemon.
It doesn't have. It doesn't matter what. It's just a backpack.
It could be Hello Kitty. It could be a Hello Kitty backpack. The Hello Kitty backpack of doubt.
Yes.
Sounds like an episode.
I saw that. I got that. Okay. I got that. I got it.
So you imagine when you have a little bit of doubt, the backpack is not incredibly heavy, right? You're just carrying it. It's not much of an issue. But that doubt starts to build up inside of you. And over time, that doubt goes from being a little pebble, and now it's a marble because you're having more thoughts. So this is where that negative self-talk kind of works against you. So you start to have this negative self-talk, and now that pebble starts to grow. Because it's getting fed by, oh, this is all bad. Oh, nothing's ever going to be the same. Oh, you've never been to Paris. So now the marble is growing into a rock. So now you can feel it in the backpack. Can you still carry it? Yeah, you can still carry it. But, you kind of feel a little bit. 2 pounds, it adds up.
The guy does.
And now more negative self-talk. Now you're keeping your schedules, and you're not doing your morning routines like you need to, because why? You're not reaching out to people. You're like, well, people should reach out to me. Okay. So now your rock is now starting to become a big rock. Now it's 25 pounds. Let's make it 30 pounds. Now it's kind of heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Can you still walk? Yeah, you can still walk. But now it's really starting to get heavy. Go check the camera on the way back. Check it on the way back. It's off.
Yeah,
it's off.
It's still recording.
Okay, yeah, I mean.
I think as long as
check it.
that.
I guess as long as it's straight. So now this thing is 30 pounds. And you start to feel it weighing you down a little bit. And now there's more doubt. Now you're not moving as hard, right? You can't move when it's 30 pounds. Before you know it, that backpack gets to the point where you can't move anymore. So now you're kind of trying to stand still because you can't move forward. And now you're starting to feel stuck. And I think this was happening to people, right? First, the backpacks are small. There's a little bit, I have a little bit of anger inside of me, or I have a little bit of hope. But that doubt just starts to grow, and it starts to grow, and it starts to grow. And now the person can't move. And I think that's when people get stuck. And it's almost like sometimes when people go to therapy, they have a boulder. And it's like a 500-pound boulder that unless you're one of those world's strongest men competitions, you actually can't move it forward. So I kind of encourage everyone, you have to find a way to make that boulder and keep it as small as possible. You're going to always carry some things in the boulder. That's okay. And I'm sorry, in the backpack, not the boulder. You always carry some things in the backpack, and that's okay. But you don't want to get your doubt so big that you can't move. And I think that's when we look at people, that's what's happening to them mentally. You know, that visualization. So when I look at people, I kind of look and go, man, you have a big boulder right now. You got to work on.
Not that kind of
So
boulder.
yeah, so for me as a coach, I'm the mental jackhammer to kind of reduce that shred of doubt. And there's lots of different ways to kind of go about it. But I think it's being self-aware. So one of the things, I wrote a couple ideas. You gave some great ideas. But I think maybe just having a quick, Likert scales are like these 1 through 5 or 1 through 10 scales. Even just a simple check with yourself in the morning and just before you go to bed. Kind of a way to say, how do I feel today? Am I?
So that we're not wasting trees, can we have something like do this the digital?
Oh, you can do it on Excel. You can do it on Microsoft Word.
And just be like on a scale of 1 to 10.
1 to 10, yeah.
Just look at these and just say I'm a 5 here.
Yeah.
I'm a 5 here, and then like have like okay if you scored below this, then you probably should seek somebody.
You should start to
or
go on your plan.
Yes.
Yeah, if I start to score low, and now it goes back to being honest with your score.
Yeah, okay.
You have to be honest. If you feel like a 2,
you have to put a 2.
then write down you're a 2.
Not a 5 or a 10.
Yeah, you're like, oh no, yeah, you can't. You have to always be honest with yourself. And I like the honesty talk that we talked about before. So maybe doing that, and really, I think what we would do is present a lot of options, and you choose your own path. Some people hate data. Fine, I love data. Data's my friend. So I'm going to use that as my way of getting over it. Some people, I'm going to encourage that you either need to write in your journal, draw a picture, dance, learn a language, or do some yoga. Like pick a talent that you can get better. Play an instrument. Play something that doesn't bother your neighbors. But play
piano or something.
Play some,
not the drums.
Yes. I think that'd be a neat thing to do, to say, okay, well, I know that I made progress in something today. Yo hablo mucho español. Will really come in handy because that'll give you something to look forward to the next day. So I think we'll add those things in there of having that type of plan.
No, I think that's fantastic to be able to have, and while we're in this quarantine phase, when we have to do the social distancing, now there's no excuse. Oh, I have to work, or I have no time.
Yeah.
You have nothing but time.
Plenty
now.
of time on your hands.
Now you have nothing but time. So what is the excuse? That's all. My excuse for everything is I don't have time. I just don't have time. Some things I just don't have time for.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm thinking, okay, now what? Now what's gonna be my excuse?
Yeah.
I need to come up with a new one because I don't have time anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't really correlate with like. I do have the time, but how do
Yeah.
I?
I mean, there's going to be tough times ahead, but for a lot of us, there are not as many barriers to make some of these changes inside of us. You know,
Yeah.
you're always going to be inside your head. Your brain's always going to be with you. Now's a good time for you to use an analogy from earlier. It's time for you to train your dog. Train
Yes.
that dog in your head of anxiety, and make sure your dog can sit. You
Mm.
can't don't let your dog run around
And
all
you
over
need
the
to your
place.
mind, yes.
You know.
Yeah. Which is, bringing the dog analogy, I do have, I take care of this one dog normally, and before this coronavirus, but he was so obedient, like super strict, like in the elevators, he would lay down,
Oh.
at every crosswalk, he would sit down no matter what, like, you have to actually tell him to go potty so that he can go potty, or he would hold it. So I thought, like, I was like, oh, that's so extreme. But then as I get to know this dog and get to know them, I'm like, no, they're just training him to be, this good dog.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what we have to train our mind as well too. We have to train our mind to be this kind of like obedient self, and not get ourselves into this hole of anxiety and doubt and self depression. So if we kind of can train ourselves to, like, okay, this is what I need to do. Wake up. How do I feel? Am I feeling okay? Just do a quick assessment. Go through your notes. Am I feel like, on a scale of 1 to 10 or a scale of 1 to 5? What is this? On a scale of 1 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
how do I feel about this? On a scale of 1 to 5, how do I feel about this? And just answer those questions, and kind of just like, okay, at the end I received a 15. Okay, I'm doing okay. But if you get a 5, or if you get a 10, you're like, okay, I need to start doing something to train my body, train my mind, And that's the same thing with this dog. This dog is automatically trained. So if you're automatically trained to do something, your mind will just, like, it's putting on clothes, putting on, your underwear, your socks. You're always going to be wearing socks. You're always going to be wearing underwear. It's a routine. Like, it. This is what we want to get to. Is this um, mentality of just doing it repetitively. Like, I'm not even thinking about it anymore. This is just a routine that's happening, that I need to, when I'm feeling this, I need to do this automatically, so
Mhm.
that it doesn't progress into something bigger and worse than it could possibly be.
I think your idea, and I almost, it felt like on every show I've talked about it, that would be part of this. This is one of the best times to work on your morning and evening routine.
Yes.
You can really get a tight 1 hour window that you can get all your shower, wake up,
Yes.
train your body to get 7 hours of sleep on a regular schedule.
Yes.
Think how efficient that you can actually be during this time. Now's a good time to write that book that you've always been wanting to write.
Okay, guys, you hear that?
A lot of you guys want to start YouTube channels. This is pretty much now or never. Now is a good time to, and not just go out there and please, I'm gonna get on my soapbox. If you just go out there on YouTube and go, I'm gonna wing it, and people are just gonna love me because of that, you're doing those people disservice. If you want to be a YouTube star, study, you put in the work,
Yeah.
and you let the energy flow, but you do it well. Don't do no half-ass. Don't do no half-ass effort. So many people are like, oh, I'm just gonna go out there and just wing it. It doesn't work that way. I think
Me, myself, and I. Just kidding.
I spent a lot of time with some professional speakers lately, and I think one thing I've learned is how much work they put in.
Yeah.
It looks so natural, but I see their prep work. I see their log pages. I mean, they over prepare for 4 times more material than they talk about. The best
Wow.
speakers.
Wow.
So think about that. They come ready. So that's my challenge to you guys. You can do your branding, but you better be ready to have things to really talk about. But this is a good time to do that. This is a really good time to get your evening routine and slow your brain down before going to bed. This is really a good time to really look at your friendships. You have now every excuse to break up with almost anybody
Yeah.
in the world. Be like, hey, I'm sorry, COVID-19. And you can go about your way. This is a good time to evaluate your friends. I joke. Well, actually, I'm halfway serious. I think one day I'll do a book about behavioral math. and I would love to score people, like how you could like score your friend. You have like a friendship rating.
Okay. How would that look like?
It would look well. Essentially, I would look at the variables of how often did they communicate with you, how did they make you feel, did they help you to improve, how much impact did you have with them, how long you've had the history, how deep. So there has to be some sort of friendship rating. Like I mean, the closeness, part of it. To say, am I getting return of value? There's a metric out there somewhere, because we do it in our heads. Where we go, you know what? I really don't like hanging out with so and so anymore. So there's this
I be doing that all the
this
time.
mental
You
math.
cut off. Don't make me cut you off because I'll cut you off.
You're on the list.
Yes, I'll cut you off on my list and my friends list, and you'll be gone.
But there probably is some way that it'd be nice you could score your friend. I'm sorry, we can't be friends anymore.
You scored too
low. You scored too low on this quarter. Or you'll have like a warning letter. You'll send a warning email to your friend. This quarter, you scored low on your friendship rating. Will you please increase in your communication with...
Yeah.
Halfway joking. Halfway.
Yes. No, but going back to that, because I have friends that I no longer see on a regular time basis.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who I used to work with before, that Shirley, Joanne, all my friends that I used to hang out with, a long time ago, and I just saw them. We caught up, and it was like, nothing has left. We were able to catch up, no problem. But at the same time, it's like I would like to continue that conversation on a regular basis, not just once every 6-7 months. So how do you? We're all busy, and now these days a little bit less busy but we can FaceTime. So how do you you have a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of go through a list of okay, I'm going to contact 10 friends a day, 10 different friends,
mm-hmm.
and just say hi to them and just say hey, and catch up kind of thing, for your mental stability to see how they're doing as well too. But this is a time I think that now we have this opportunity to kind of cement our friendships a little bit better, or the patients or the people who are no longer and who have been your friends, but you're like, oh, I'm not sure why we were friends. You're not really adding any kind of value to my life, and then kind of just separate those. So I think this is a time where we can make our friends closer, or we can distance ourselves from those friends who are kind of toxic, and you're like, yeah, I'm trying to stay positive, and you only kind of bring up the negative all the time. Everything we talk about is always, negative stuff. Where's my positive stuff,
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. So, although we don't have the testing for it, but I think you need to have your inner circle locked down. Inner circles need to be more than, and this is out, not including you, they need to be at least 2 people, no more than 12. And I think that there's a magic ratio somewhere in there. In terms of inner circle, and it's hard to define inner circle. I'll call inner circle non-family related, because families are, you can have a family of 10 kids.
Okay, so what is considered what does an inner circle look like?
So inner circle,
what does it consist of?
I would define the inner circle as the people that see you when your mask is off. The people that know the embarrassing things that happened to you that you gladfully told them, and they've kept secrets and have protected you when sometimes you weren't able to protect yourself.
Yeah.
These are the people that if they called you at 3 o'clock in the morning, as long as they haven't abused that privilege, you'll gladly pick up the phone and say, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And so most people don't have more than 12, and 12 is really a super high number.
It
Most
is.
people, honestly, is about 4 to 6. But you should lock down who is in my inner circle and really make sure you have a good relationship
What
there.
if you have more than 12? I mean, I think I have more than 12.
So there's a second. So there's an inner circle
Okay.
that really know you. So of the group of people you know, these are the not the VIPs. These are the Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
You know, these are the
Yeah.
highest level people. So this sounds weird. Minus family, these are the people that you would actually want to invite to your deathbed.
Yeah.
That's a simple way to look at it. You're like, I don't really want Karen there. They're not part of your inner circle. Then you have that second circle. That circle could have up to 50 people in it. It probably needs to have at least 5, but probably max of 50. Those people know you for the most part. They've seen enough of you without the mask, but you know, and those people go back and forth. Sometimes those people join the inner circle over time.
Okay.
You know, that's that next group of friends.
And so, how often should you be making this list? I mean, how often should you be reviewing your inner circle versus your outer circle? I mean, if they change in between,
and really, they change constantly. So I think you want to define the circles, but they're not rigid, right? They're kind of they're soft. But I think it's good for you. So please don't rank your friends. Don't tell them Michael said I need to rank you.
Okay.
You're now friend number 4.
Michael said this. You guys all heard him say it.
Rank. You
can blame him now.
My friend ranking list. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I can't go out. You're only 8th on my list.
Yes. Michael said it. Blame him.
So it is a fluid list, but I think you should have an idea because there's always some people you can reach out to. I guess that's the point. You can be like, oh, I need to reach out to all 200 friends on my Facebook list. You won't have the time. And really, 50 is, for 90% of people, way too much.
Yeah.
So I always go, how much time do I have to invest? Because we have kids and a wife, you know. So go, okay, how much time do I have? Now go, how many friends can I include in the inner loop list, that inner circle, and then that secondary circle? And that's it. You know, so for most people, I would define it this way. There are 15 to 20 people in your life that you should be actively, constantly, on a monthly basis trying to communicate with.
And Michael, for people who are just joining us, can you kind of review what we talked about a little bit? Just
Sure.
You know, just kind of like for the people who are just tuning in, maybe you caught like the first 10 minutes of this episode and you're like, what the hell they're talking about? You know, so we're really just explaining to people, you know, about anxiety, about your stress, how to have an action plan kind of thing. And we're talking about your inner circle, you know, have a list of friends that you can count on. And so what does that look like for you? What does that look like for me? And everybody's going to have a different kind of set of lists. But what Michael's talking about, he's saying, you know, your inner circle is really no more than 10 people. And then your outer circle is no more than like 50 people. And that could be a lot. And those can come in between. Or those can come and go as the time is changing. But have that kind of list already out there. And so whenever you are having a problem, so whenever we're talking about, you know, the stress and anxiety that we're having, when your brain is having this meltdown, you already have a list compiled of who you can talk to. So you're not having to scroll through your friends, or you're not having to think like, oh, who can I call, or nobody really cares about me. If you already have saying these are the people, let me call this person. And that person doesn't answer, I can call 4 other people, and I bet you one of those 4 other people will answer the phones for you, you know? And so we kind of talk about stress, anxiety, loneliness, and how to be, and when we're talking about this pandemic, we're saying that it's okay to be afraid. We're not saying not to be afraid, but we're not saying to panic either. We're saying that you have to have some kind of solution. And Michael, feel free to join in anytime you want to.
No, you're right.
But it's okay to have this kind of fear of what's happening, but at the same time, don't over exaggerate it. So have your list, and we're talking about if you've been on our show previously, you'll know Michael talks about your routine of your morning routine. When you wake up, your first hour should be devoted into your mindless. You know, you do your yoga, do your mind wellness.
Yeah,
and
wellness.
that
exercise.
That first hour is dedicated to you. The last hour is dedicated to you. So before you go to bed, that you should dedicate 1 hour to that wellness of your mental self. And so that's when you want to address. Okay, maybe you know what, You know, we're talking about friends. We're talking about, well, this friend really wasn't there for me this time. You know, that hey, I'm having a difficult time, and maybe that friend is having a difficult time as well too. You know, we don't know what's happening on their end. You know, and while we're all want to be perfect, sometimes we're not, and that's okay. But as long as we are honest with each other, and that's one of the things that we covered as well too, being honesty. You know, the honesty part of it is being honest, saying that hey, what do I feel at the moment? Am I a 2? Am I a 3? Analyze yourself and say, you know, eh, uh, what are um, my brain scans kind of thing at the moment.
You have to self.
You
You
know,
have to self-assess.
you have to
yourself.
kind of self-assess yourself and making sure that you are okay, making sure that you're fine, and not going through this rabbit hole that we often find ourselves in.
Yeah. And this rabbit hole is deep. This rabbit, it kind of feels what we're going through right now is if this is a movie, we're in the first 5 minutes
Yes,
of a movie that's gonna be a long.
it's gonna be a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, it's one of those old '80s movies, nice and long. So you have to kind of mentally pace yourself. This is not a good time to be ground down. This is not a good time to be burned out. And if you are going through burnout, it's okay. We're gonna be okay.
And so, if you already are burned out, you know, we talk about having a mental plan or having some kind of list that you can say, hey, I'm not doing well. So that's when you talk to your therapist. And your friends are not always going to be your therapist. So you can't always count on your friends to be your therapy. And so I want to make sure we're clear with that your friends are not your therapist. They're just kind of there to walk you off that ledge. But if you are feeling this kind of way, look for a coach. Look for Michael. Michael is a certified behavior analyst. You know, he can have this goal for you, make yourself accountable, and that's what we need. Sometimes we need to be accountable to somebody, and if you're going to be accountable, he can help you be accountable. You know, or find another therapist or another coach or somebody who's going to going to hold you. What have you done today? You know, making sure that we don't go in through that self devastating mode
That
like
slippery slope.
Yeah, so we're all failing and we're all gonna die and that's it.
And
You
we're
know?
gonna eat Oreos till we pass. You know, I think you touched on something that's very important, and I want to be really clear. Friends, I'm such a big fan of having stable, good friends that help you improve. They will help you. They will always pick you up. You know, that type. But friends aren't therapy. There's a big difference.
Yes.
Unless your friend's a therapist, and if your friend's a therapist, they're not doing therapy with you because they probably have told you, "I'm not a therapist right now," with a drink in my hand.
Right.
Because you have to remember, their friends are just giving you their opinions to their experience, and just like, so I feel uncomfortable. I'm pretty good at this behavior analysis stuff and coaching. I'm terrible at gardening. I am terrible at gardening. So if you ask me a question about gardening,
Yeah.
I can tell. I mean, I know a little bit about plants. I can tell you about it. But I am an awful person
Call it a day.
to tell you about gardening.
Yeah.
I think it's the same with some friends. Some friends are good that are just a shoulder to cry on or so good to make you laugh. But some of these people are not therapists. These are not the people that you want sound advice that you're gonna base the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But I think having a mixture. I think you need some expert level opinion, and then have your day to day kind of interactions. So I know right now it's hard. It's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard not to spend money. You know, a lot of people have lost their jobs. You know, I really feel my heart reaches out for people that are in hospitality right now. You know, all types. So it's kind of tough to spend money yourself, but the return of value, whether it's and this is with having accountable friends or whether you go out and get a coach or psychologist, is that's going to save you a lot of mental steps back. You know, right now is not the time to take 8 steps back because it's going to take a long way to work yourself up.
Yeah.
And
so if you already know that you're on that 5th step already, and you're
Mhm.
like, crap, I'm 3 steps before I'm like reaching the point of no return,
Mhm.
or a point of it's gonna take me more than 2 weeks to get through this. What would you suggest if someone's already at that 5th step? Like, okay, so I'm listening to our show, we're listening to this, and you're like, okay, yes, I'm there. I'm already. I'm not the 8th step yet, but I'm at that 5th step. I have 3 more steps before I go absolutely batshit crazy
Yeah.
and reach out to somebody. Would
Yeah.
be my suggestion. But Michael, what would how would you guide somebody who's already at that level of they're already anxiety, they're already stressed, they're already going through all this stuff, and they're like, man, I don't know if I can go through this. Like, eight more weeks of this is not going to work for me. Of me being self quarantined by myself and living by myself. I can't do this.
So I always like giving out homework.
That's right. Yep. Y'all know him.
I look at this is first. It's gonna be hard, that mental mindset. You don't want to say I can't make it through this, but that's a whole separate argument about saying can't. The words can't, don't. I mean, it's hard,
Can't
right?
means
Those,
won't,
yeah.
yes.
But the homework assignment that we have for today is within the next 24 hours, you will have 2 accountability partners. Not just one.
So what does an accountability partner look like?
So accountability partner is one of those people in your inner circle, or in that circle just outside, or a professional that you know you can count on when you are struggling. So you're gonna go look online and look at resources in your area. The beautiful thing is a lot of psychologists are online now and doing online programs, so you can still get help online, FaceTime with folks. An interesting thought is you don't need. There's plenty of people in Houston. I like local, but honestly, you could be anywhere. You can get almost any psychologist as long as they have a platform of an online program. You can talk to anyone. So have a professional of, if I get this far, here's the first person I'm going to call, and have maybe 1 or 2 on the professional side.
And if you're just looking for a therapist, it's okay to find several.
Yes.
It's okay to not, if the first person that you reach out to, you don't really bond with,
or they're full,
or they're full, and you're like, this person doesn't really get me or doesn't understand me, go look for somebody else.
Yes.
Like, there's plenty out there, I would say, but making sure that you're not only just like, oh, I reached out to one person, they're full, I can't find anybody else, or I reached out to one person and they really didn't understand. They didn't really understand what I was going for, so I'm just giving up. Don't give up. Continue to look for somebody who's gonna actually move you forward in the direction that you're looking for. Someone's gonna hold you accountable. Someone's gonna be able to assist you and improving your mind and your body as well too. So when your mind improves, your body improves, your mentality improves, everything improves as well too. So we want to make sure like it's a wraparound service, but don't get discouraged if that first person that you meet is not the right one.
Yeah, I think you hit on something that's really important. We are at a point right now in society where if you don't advocate, no one's coming for you.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be your own best self advocate. I think that'd be another interesting topic to discuss, is about self advocacy, and I think it really goes into this here, because right now everyone right now is dealing with their own mental issues in their immediate families, in their community, in their job, and all these things moving forward. Now's not the time to just go, well, I tried one, no one reached out to me, or this person's not a fit. But did you share? Did you really open yourself up, or were you waiting for them to figure you out? This is one of those times where a lot of us are going to have to fall on some swords with our pride, and not to go all Pulp Fiction-y with you when it comes to pride, but don't let pride mess with you. Don't let it stop you from getting help. I don't know why this popped in my head, but it brought up an interesting thing I read. And it just blew my mind, but it really talked about you need to reach out for help. True story. So I'm not making this up. This is in the newspaper. But there were, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 girls at a baseball game. And during the baseball game, one of the girls of the 4 choked to death on a hot dog next to her friends. Choked to death on a hot dog next to her friends. So my head's like, how could someone die literally next to their friends?
Yeah.
And on one hand, and I don't know, I wasn't there, but the thought is, at some point, either this person should have said something, right? Like, it should have been like, and I don't know if it was pride, I don't know that type of thing, but this is a situation that we have going on right now. Everyone's distracted. You know, in that case, maybe the other girls were watching, so focused on the baseball game, they didn't see their friend. You know, right now, the whole world is really focused on something that is truly scary. If you're starting to slide, if you're starting to choke, you need to flap your hands.
Oh, man. Yes.
You can't sit there and sit silently and hope someone finds you turning blue. I guess that's the point of, you know, I'm going to drive home.
We're driving home one more time, though. So, like, you know, I think that is just so important because, you know, our pride is really, everybody has this pride.
Yeah.
You know, you want, it's not until you're blue,
Yeah.
that you're like 5 seconds from dying is when you're like, oh shit, I need some help. And that sometimes it's too late.
This is not the time.
This is not the time to be waiting until the last minute to get the help.
I agree.
Wow, that's a great analogy. You know, we're sometimes we're just choking ourselves to death.
Yeah.
And we're, you know, that person just, you know, we choke on everything. We choke on not only just the hot dog, but we can choke on life itself. And sometimes life is just so hard that we're like, it's not gonna get any better. You know, and that's when we're like at that stage 8 already.
Yeah.
But before we're at that, it's not gonna get any better. There was signs and symptoms that we should have paid attention, and we're so proud of ourselves that we're not willing to ask for help. We're not ask for guidance. Tell a friend, hey, you know what? I'm not doing well. This is, you know, I'm whatever the scenario is going through, and say, hey, okay. Hopefully that friend will tell you, you know what? I'm not able to guide you, but let me walk you through somebody. Let me help you. Let me follow through. Making sure you get your help and making sure that you get therapy. I mean, I'm not the right person, but let's find that right person for you.
Yeah.
So if you are that friend, making sure that you are taking that leap as well to making sure that your friend's okay. So if someone's coming to you for help, not only if you're coming for help, but if you're in that receiving end of someone coming to you, just make sure that you are going to take that next step as well too. Because you don't want to be like, well, the what if? If only... I would have answered the call, or only if I would, you know, said something to him. We can save all these people if we can just be a little bit less prideful of ourselves and be more, he's probably not gonna want this, or he's probably not gonna want, you know, me helping them out. Mm-hmm. And the whole point of reaching out is that first step, and that person may already be at 6 or 7, and they're like, okay, I need to reach for help, and then that person they call is like, oh, okay, no, I can't help you, sorry. And so then they just continue to digress.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you phrased it. I think the other part of it is these friendships, these inner circles should be reciprocal. So it's not you just calling up, hey, you just be my accountability partner and just, you know, help me.
Yes.
It's like saying, hey, I care about you. I want you to honestly tell me, are you okay? And I will do the same. Yeah. So that's the other part. So this is optional homework. The homework is you need to have someone accountable. If you want to get optional, if you want bonus credit.
This is the bonus credit, guys.
Is you want to be, by being a good friend, you initiate this with people.
Yeah.
And you lead by example. So you tell your friend, hey, through this, I would love to have an accountability partner. I need someone to help me when I'm struggling. Will you please be my accountability partner? And then on top of that, can I be your accountability partner?
Yes.
Can I ask you? So when we first talk on the phone and I ask you how you're doing, I always want your honest response. Heck, you give me the number. Tell me what number that you're at, and
Yeah.
be honest with that.
Yeah.
So you're doing two things. One, you're being a great friend, and you're dedicated to them. But also, you've also set an establishment that we can now be honest with each other. Let's tell each other that we're struggling. And so I think that's how you do it. You can't, don't always wait for everyone else to set the rules of your friendships, your relationships.
Mm.
You have choice.
Yes.
You can set these, but you have to set them by example.
Yes.
So then you do have to be there for them. If they call you at 3 o'clock in the morning, that means you can't flake on them.
Yes.
You know, so if you're a flaky mofo, this is going to be a hard time for you. Because, you know, you have to also be there for them. So that's why your group of people that are in your circles are only as big as you are able to handle them. So if you want to have a big circle of friends, you have to be very accountable.
To everyone.
To all of them.
Yes.
You can't just, only when I need you.
Yes.
Because now you're that person. So this is a really good time. Set some good examples. Build some great relationship with your friends and say, hey, friend, I am going to be there for you. I'm going to need you there for me, but let's be honest with each other. Let's help each other through this. And I think that's a great way to work through this pandemic together.
So we have about like 10 minutes left. Anything that we didn't talk about that we
Yes.
that we need to cover?
We have a couple of small things I want to discuss. I guess
Yeah.
one last topic about things to really think about while you're at home. We'll think of anything else to add to our new COVID-19 plan.
Yes.
And I'll give it to you. You'll be able to send it out. I'll work on it sometime in April. I'm going to give myself sometime in April.
Goals, realistic goals. That's what we talked about as well.
See,
too.
realistic goals.
Having realistic goals. You know,
I'm setting realistic goals for myself.
He's telling me he's not having it tomorrow, but he's gonna have it sometime in April, which is realistic. You
That's
know, which is
realistic.
great.
I agree. So we
Honestly.
now have realized, and for like I said, for you guys in hospitality, my heart goes out to you guys. It's going to change the restaurant industry forever. It's going to change hotels. Anyone that has been affected. I'm an entrepreneur. I can tell you how much I respect all small business owners. You guys have my heart. One of the things I'll do for my coaching is work out with a lot of business owners who just have lost everything. People that for the rodeo, you know, it's heartbreaking. It's now for you to always have your side hustle plan B should always be in effect here moving forward. You need to be resistant to technology as much as possible. It be something that you can control. It need to be something that actually makes you happy or makes you lots of money, but really it should be makes you money, makes you happy, and help others. I think try to find the holy three. Because now we don't know, you know, what the future holds. And honestly, we always knew that. Right? The word pandemic is not a new word. We all knew that word.
Yeah.
Now we're feeling that word.
Yes.
And actually we don't even know it yet. We're about to, unfortunately, figure out what this word truly means. It's like war. You can talk about war, but people that went through World War II and lived through war and had to have rations, when they say war, they felt war. So what side hustles do you have? And I think of your skills. Okay, maybe you really, really good with a trombone and you gave it up because you couldn't make money off of it. Maybe you could teach trombone online now.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go back and now that's your side hustle. You have a regular job. I'm not saying go quit all your jobs. But some of you guys, this might be a good time to work in your side hustle while you're looking to find another job. I think now side hustle should be a part of everyone's natural thing. Because who knows? You might work on that thing one day and you might be able to do enough trombone tours that you only need to work part-time. Yeah. And now at the time you're enjoying trombone, you can set your own hours. So this is a really good time to evaluate your money. And it's not just, I need to make money. I'm a diehard American, go make money, go be an entrepreneur. I love the entrepreneur spirit. Make money while helping others is find that path. And it doesn't have to be the same thing. You can help. You can change someone's day by being a great hairstylist. You can make someone's
Yes,
day
yes.
by writing good poetry.
Yes.
You can make someone's day by just being an empath, by just loving people. But be good at it and then find a way to monetize it. So even as an empath, okay, maybe go find it. There's a certification to be a arbitration specialist, or go maybe be a social worker, or just volunteer. I mean, you don't need to go get a degree. Just go volunteer and just go love people. Go to your church and really give in. But really, this is a good time to say, what can I do that helps my spirit and helps my pocketbook at the same time?
Yeah.
Because we now know uncertainty. I mean, there's people that have had successful businesses that in the past 2 weeks have literally gone away.
Yes.
I even think, my business. So this actually is. I'm gonna jump on that soapbox real quick. This is an interesting anniversary for me. 1 year ago today is when I sold my previous company.
Wow.
Exactly 1 year ago.
Wow.
And
Wow.
a year ago, I was a mess. I can honestly say, I was selling under a lot of stress, duration. I got paid enough to leave with my shirt and just my shirt,
Yeah.
half a shirt barely, and I didn't have a plan B. I was gonna do that. I was gonna be that entrepreneur till I was 80 years old, and in the span of almost 2 months, it all
Came crashing down.
it changed. I got out, and I had to reinvent myself on the fly. So when I talk about things, I'm not talking about them from this sitting on high on a throne.
Yeah.
I'm talking because I a year ago I was at step 7 and 8, and I'm happy. I am very unhappy of what we're about to go through as a pandemic, as us as a society. But I'm happy that I am a lot more equipped to handle what we're about to go through than I was a year ago. And I think that's why the fight of humanity, that why we keep moving forward. And if you're on step 7 or 8 right now, you can make it back. You can go off and you can improve. You can find that traction. And you get to find it from inside. There's a lot of things that come from outside, but this is going to be the internal test.
Yeah.
This is going to test your heart. It's going to test your soul. And so, in the midst of going into a pandemic, I don't know how prepared I will be, but I'm happy that I've taken these steps. And so even the book that I wrote, so that's essentially what happened. A year ago, I didn't have the book. The book came to me about a couple weeks after I sold. About mid-April last year, I said, you know what? I've always wanted to write a book. And so now here we are, a year later, and the things I'm talking to you about came from this pain that I had. It came from this levels of feeling really lost and having to reinvent yourself. So I say all that to say that this is, a lot of us are going to hit 6, 7s, and 8s on that slide. We're going to be hitting some dark moments. I unfortunately think that those are inevitable. But if you set good goals, if you really try to figure out what do you want to do and work towards it, because dreams are verbs.
Yes.
You don't just go, I want this. This is how I'm going to do this. There's no want without a do.
No,
We're going to be okay.
Yes. Are
Are
we going to be okay?
We're going to be okay. We're going to improve. Because humanity's, we've been through these things before. We've been through strife. A lot of us have already been through things in our life that have been very hard.
So yes, we have been through this, but what did we learn from those as a human race? Like, I don't, to me, like, yes, we went to that, but what did we actually gain from that? I don't think we gained anything from it. So, how do we, when now that we're having gone through this and we're living through this, because I wasn't born back when we had like the Spanish flu per se. Yes, I'm aware that those times came and went, but what could we learn as a society that are we applying today? Other than that we have better testing and better, medical equipment that we can do.
Yeah.
But physically and mentally, how are we saying to ourselves and to our colleagues and our friends, hey guys, like this happened before, and we will survive this, and this is how we're gonna get through this, and what's your plan, and have a plan and have all this stuff, but what have we really learned, and if we didn't learn anything, now's the time to set that motion up and say, okay, I'm dealing with this. I have this time now to deal with my feelings, my emotions, my level of anxiety that I had. Now there's a time for me to seek out help. And it's kind of unfortunate that we're having this pandemic and we're realizing this, but a lot of people are gonna have this come to Jesus moment, I feel like.
Come to Jesus.
When you're like, crap, I've been at 8. And I've been surviving now that I don't have this work excuse any longer. That 8's going to turn into like an 18.
Yeah. No, you're right. So, we have learned a lot. So, the reason why we're doing social distancing is that actually came from what we learned from the Spanish flu.
Okay.
And that's the reason why we're doing it right now,
Yeah.
is because we learned, oh shoot, we really messed up. So we already have data I can't remember if it was 1918 or 1919. So this is the closest resemblance of what we're going through right now. And some cities and states listened, some didn't. So Philadelphia was one of the cities that they had a parade, and they're like, well, screw it, we're gonna have this parade. You have to imagine, lots of happened in that era. World War I was around that same time. So I mean, they went through a lot of stuff back then. They went through the Spanish flu, World War I, and the Depression. It's kind of a small amount of time, a 20-25 year period. I was talking about. We learned a lot.
Yeah.
So so Philadelphia still ran off and they did their parade, and they had some of the highest rates of Spanish flu deaths. So we actually have a little bit of data from there that we actually are used now to help our models. We also learned a little bit on why about herd immunity and what that really means when you need to have X amount of people actually. So a lot of us are going to get COVID-19. That seems inevitable for a majority of us. The reason why we're socially distancing ourselves is because we all can't get it at the same time. That's essentially what it comes down to. So those things we learned from the past. So are we going to learn every little thing from the past? No. But we did learn some things, and unfortunately we're going to learn some things from this one. Yeah. Our job is to make sure we remember, but we can't get mad to say we should assimilate 100%. Because we don't. We don't learn 100% of what we learned yesterday. We don't keep 100% of it.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do we keep that we learn in a given day? Yeah, I don't have the numbers on it, but it's not like this high percentage of knowledge. So be hopeful. So instead of looking at it as a negative, think if we didn't have technology. Think if we didn't have smartphones. Think if we didn't know. Think if we didn't know what's happening in Italy right now. You know how many more people we would be much more. Yeah, we would really have a problem. Now, could we have done a better job? My goodness, we could have done so much better. But even if you felt that our government has not done a good job, you could see YouTube. You know what's happening in Italy.
Yeah.
You see the data. You see what's happening as this virus has moved throughout the world. You can make decisions. You can choose to self-quarantine. Some people already have. So that's what's changed. You know, back in 1900, you didn't get knowledge from what was happening in Italy unless it came in a newspaper.
True.
2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So by the time the newspaper came, it came with the virus. So that's where I look at the positives of saying, yes, people are going to mess this up, and I do agree that there are parts of our government that has failed us completely. There's also some parts that have worked. We are getting some information.
I'm rolling my eyes because people can't see, but I'm rolling my eyes at Michael as he's talking about our government.
Because we have seen some things, that have gone in place. The fact that we know that there's a shortage of ventilators before we have run out yet is good, right? Because this would really suck if they realize 3 weeks from now that we need them.
Yeah.
Will there be enough of them? No. But there'll be a lot more of them than they were. So we have to take the small steps and improve. But it's time to have a plan. It's time for us to take some deep breaths. It's gonna be day in, day out. How are you feeling?
So for a recap, we're out of time.
Yes.
But for a recap, it's okay to be afraid. We're not saying don't be afraid. We're just saying don't panic. And if you are panicking already, or if you are having this mental instability, be honest with yourself and kind of have this scale of where am I feeling today? How am I reacting to whatever's going on in the world today? So, having this fear, this anxiety, the stress, eliminating that a little bit by in your first of your day, making it a habit of, your first hour of the day when you wake up is dedicated to exercise, to yoga, to meditation. Whatever you want to do that is your time to prepare. You normally would prepare for work. Instead of preparing for work now, make this your habit. It takes 10 days to make a habit, they say.
Yeah.
We have plenty of time now. We're going to have 18 weeks, y'all. So
all the habits, you can get them all.
You can have all these habits, happening, going forward. So, but we're really talking about your mental health and your mental stability. Making sure that you have your list of friends, your inner circle, people who you already have them already written down somewhere. Have write down your 5 or 6 friends that you can count on, that if you call them, they will be your ear and you'll listen to them. If you don't have it, then try to find a support group. Find, Facebook there's a ton of support groups on Facebook or online. Just be proactive as well too. Also, we are gonna feel lonely. We're gonna feel that there's, even if you are with somebody else, it's that human connection. You still have to have this human bond with somebody, feeling, touching, expressing it. But while we can't do that, there's now FaceTime, there is Zoom, you can do, brunch with friends, and still have this one-on-one. Reach out to your friends who haven't done it in a while, reach out to your friends who you haven't seen or you haven't heard. Now you have all the time in the world, and they have all the time in the world. So be prepared a little bit. Have a plan, have a strategy that you can say you can have in place. If you know that you're reaching, if you're going down this rabbit hole, you can say, hey, stop real quick. Okay, let me go ahead and call. Have us on mind, and what we talked about is your friends you're not your therapist, and so your friends can't guide you like a therapist can, but they can just be your moral support out there for you, and that's what there should be, and that's what you should be to your friend as well too. It's a two-way street. But if you know that you're having problems, go search out for a therapist, and it's okay that first therapist doesn't see, like, if they're busy or you feel like that therapist doesn't get you. It's okay to find somebody else, and there's so many now they're doing virtual therapy, so you don't have to go into an office anymore. But just try to reach out to somebody. Have your friends list. How to be prepared. Michael, anything that I missed?
No, I think you covered most of them with the plan. You want to really understand
and set goals, realistic goals.
Yeah, set realistic goals. You talk about inner circle. No, I think we did a good job. And, I'm available. If you send a note on Pause Impact,
Or your email.
or my email. My email is michael.conti, C-O-N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, E, H as in Harry, BCBA at gmail.com. You also can look me up on LinkedIn. Go ahead and add me. I'll be happy to add you. But if you're really struggling, I don't do the heavy psychology work, but feel free to shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to try to at least point you in the right direction. If you need any coaching, I'm more than happy to give some simple, easy advice. If you want something more strenuous than that, just let me know.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, you've been listening to Pause Impact. We're Houston's first radio show dedicated to people with HIV, their friends and family. Until next Monday, we hope that everybody has a safe and secure week, and we will catch you guys next week on Monday.
Stay safe.
Yes.
Wash your hands.
Yes. Wash your hands.
We will be